It expire at about the time of the plea. So
That's the sole purpose for today's hearing. Any other issues that may arise from the events that occurred last Wednesday will be handled at a future date by a different court. For purposes of the record, I want to make it clear that I am not changing or modifying the sentence I was in the process of imposing last week before I was interrupted by defendant's actions.
That I do know Judge Mary Kay Holthus. I know her very casually and only professionally. I've never socialized with her outside, say, a professional event. I do, for instance, not know her phone number. I don't think she knows mine. We're not connected on social media. I've never worked at the district attorney's office, where I believe she worked for her entire career. Her daughter is a deputy district attorney on my track. However, the team chief has assured me that Kennedy Holthus will not appear on any of Mr. Redden's appearances. Therefore, I see no reason to recuse. However, I make those disclosures under Rule 2.11, Comment 5. Mr. Redden, have you been given a copy of the criminal complaint this morning?
Yes, I have been given one.
You're being charged with count 1, attempt murder, victim 60 years of age or older, a felony. Count 2, battery on a protected person resulting in substantial bodily harm, victim 60 years of age or older, a felony. Count 3, extortion by threat, a felony. Count 4, intimidating a public officer, a felony. Count 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are all battery on an officer, the same named victim. Oh, and by the way, I do not know any of the other victims named in the criminal complaint. Those are all felony offenses. Count 10, performance of act or neglect of duty in willful or wanton disregard of safety or persons of property resulting in substantial bodily harm or death, a felony. Battery on a protected person, count 11, that's a gross misdemeanor offense. Count 12, battery by a prisoner, a felony. Count 13, unlawful act related to human excrement or bodily fluid, a felony. All allegedly occurring on January 3rd of 2024. You understand these charges?
The system has failed him, and that's how he feels. That's how he feels that the system fails him. So he's going to come out with that mentality. His reactions were not premeditated. It was triggered because he seemed to have been pleading for his freedom. He has been off his psych meds since he got out of jail, but because he doesn't have an appointment until March. I think when the judge says, it's time for you to get a taste of, became a trigger, and in his mind.
Redden's sister LaDonna Daniels saying that what we saw in the courtroom Wednesday was a fight or flight response.
He tried to speak for himself, which I just think he shouldn't have never been allowed to take the stand or speak on his own behalf because of his condition.
Redden's family says he was born with crack cocaine in his system, that he is schizophrenic and bipolar, pointing to those as a contributing factor to Deobra's reaction, on top of the concern that he wasn't taking his medication.
I mean, when we struggle from mental illness, it's a chemical imbalance, just as most addicts have chemical imbalances out there. Who wants to stop using, who can't.
Oh my God, I went to a state of shock, you know what I mean? So it was heartbreaking really to see him, and like I said, at the end of the day, it's about his mental state. He just got an apartment, did everything right, was in contact with parole and probation. He was released to them in their custody. So now you saying you finna send him back? What sense? In his mind, he didn't think he was going back.
A different judge ordered Redden to undergo a competency determination, record said. Redden was then committed to a state behavioral facility. A judge then found Redden competent in October. Redden pled guilty in November. Judge Hawthorne issued a bench warrant for his arrest in December after he missed a court appearance. Redden was booked into Clark County Jail on new charges of battery and battery on a protected person. One count of battery on a protected person charge indicated the victim was substantially harmed. He was due in court on new charges Thursday. Redden was previously in front of Hawthorne on charges of malicious destruction of property. Records show he served prison time on a domestic battery charge for a year, starting in 2021. In that case, a different judge sentenced Retton to prison for a term of 12 to 30 months. A board granted Retton parole in 2022.
Vegas man who attacked a judge in the courtroom has now been sentenced to up to 2 years in prison for the previous charges in which he was originally in court for. So today, the suspect entered the courtroom in handcuffs, shackles, and gloves, and a spit mask. And this was for his sentencing. He's also facing now new charges because of last week's attack on that judge. So he's facing...
Wilbur Redden is standing trial today for leaping over the bench and attacking a Las Vegas District Court judge. That incident was captured on courtroom cameras and it went viral. Judge Mary Kay Holtis was sentencing Redden just before that now infamous jump. The defendant expected probation. Instead, the judge sentenced him to prison time. And this trial will determine if he'll ultimately face more time behind bars. A different judge is overseeing his trial on charges of attempted murder, battery, and intimidating a public officer.
Yo, what's up, people? We is back. Another day on Keep It G News. And they always talking about DeAndre Redden. I think I said his name right. But this is a story out of Las Vegas, y'all. That was probably one of the more bizarre stories I have ever covered. And I told myself back when I covered it about 11 months ago that I was going to keep my eye out on what actually ended up happening, because we ain't never seen nothing like this, for at least I haven't. You know, we never heard about cases where judges didn't even got murdered or assaulted. But this situation was so different because it was all on video. And it was so graphic in nature. And to see somebody, a grown man, attack a woman like this, you know, whether it's a judge or not, she was still a woman. It was just something that I was just like, wow. I wonder what's going to happen to him when he go to court. Even though I had a good idea of what was going to happen to him when he go to court. But with this case, when it first happened, we didn't really know how much time he was actually running from. So I actually did 2 videos on DeAndre Redden. But in the first video, like I said, I didn't know how much time he was facing, because I'm thinking maybe he facing life in prison. You know, ain't nobody trying to go to prison for life, man. Straight up and down. Like I told you, I done seen some cry once they get back to that 10. There's really nothing you can do about it but watch them. But in this situation, what made this so unique was he wasn't facing that much time. But you hear from his family and how they talked about him. They talked about him as a person that had mental health problems, a long history of it. And he actually just came home. So in that sense, I get not wanting to go back. But if you don't want to go back, maybe you shouldn't be involved in criminal behavior. So you heard his mother talk about he thought he was going to get probation. Well, he didn't get probation. He actually got 2 years in prison. But before he got the 2 years in prison, this is what he did.
Wants to be 9 to 48 is suggested by the DA. I would have no issue with that, but to suspend it rather than just send him to prison for it makes more sense given the circumstances and his ability to do probation successfully that he will get this opportunity.
I appreciate that, but I think it's time that he gets a taste of something else, because I just can't with that history. In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court
Hey, get off her! Get off her! Oh, you're good, stop! Don't do this! Please! Hey, where's Mary Kay? Is she okay? Hey! Hey! You know somebody? Yeah, give me a
I'll be real, y'all. I get being upset with the judge. Totally understand it. Even though it's not the judge's fault while you there, but the judge do and is in control of giving you your time. So I get being upset. But DeAndre Redden had mental health problems, mental health issues. And I told y'all in the last video that I did that I seriously doubt if that's going to come into play when it come time for sentencing for this crime that he ultimately committed, now you find out that they actually made him take it to trial. And his trial judge, though it wasn't the judge that he put his hands on, she did have some type of relationship to the judge's daughter. You heard that in the beginning, but this is how these judges are. They get all the leeway, they got all the power, and you heard the judge say, I'm not recusing myself because I don't think I'm going to be biased. You understand? Like, that's a crazy dynamic where you, the judge, the jury, and the executioner, and you can keep yourself on the case because you don't feel like you're going to be biased. Like, hey, that's the system. I get it. You got to know how to move around it. Ain't really too much you can do about it at that point. But at the end of the day, DeAubrey Retton was faced or forced to go to trial and fight this murder, y'all. No deals is on the table. So you can just imagine what actually happened when he went to court in court this time. Then another thing that happened in court was victim impact statement. Now, I told y'all I have sat through a victim impact statement, but I have never sat through a victim impact statement written by a judge. The impact on both me and my family is substantial, both mentally and physically. The impact on my professional family has also been significant, mentally and physically, especially in the case of my marshals who suffered horrific injuries trying to protect me. To him, I am incredibly thankful and so very sorry. But for 6 grown men, half of whom were unarmed, I would not be here. To them, I owe my life and will forever be grateful. For years, the system has tried unsuccessfully to help the defendant to conform his behavior and limit the danger he presents. Instead, his behavior has escalated to this, trying to kill me, as I said, just doing my job in the courtroom surrounded by guards and court personnel. He made a conscious decision to kill me and made every effort to succeed. If he had his way, he'd be facing a life sentence without the possibility of parole for murder. It is likely no surprise for me, as well as his future victims who may not be as lucky. I wish for the maximum sentence allowed. So the judge wanted life in prison, y'all. Life in prison. And I don't think he was facing life in prison, but if you accumulate those charges in years, he probably was facing at least probably 70 years, maybe 80 years. So you would expect that what the judge want, the judge gonna get. If the judge want life in prison, the judge is gonna get life in prison because, like I told y'all earlier, the judge is the juror and executioner. It's their court. It's their way. It's their laws when they sitting in that bench. And what happened ultimately in the situation was DeAubrey Retton got 25 years prison time. And he was only facing 2, y'all. But this is one of them situations, if you want me to be honest, well, do you really need help? Now it looked like they tried to give him help, but he needed more help. But this is a system that's unforgiving, and they only going to help you but so many times. Eventually, they're going to hit you with the hammer. Now, hopefully, for his sake, he can go through some type of mental evaluation, and maybe he can come back to court and time get taken away, but I doubt it. I doubt it because I think the judge that sentenced him was doing that on behalf of the judge. That's her colleague, you know, and I refuse to believe that there's no way that that judge didn't have that in mind, that this person put hands on my colleague, even though I never worked with him in the district attorney's office. I'm sure you bump across him in the judge chambers very often. But let me know how y'all feel about this in the comments. Like I said, y'all, what can you do? It's hard to really have compassion for him, even though it's obvious he got mental health issues because the brutality that he put on this woman. Like, at the end of the day, she's a judge, but she's still a woman. And I know it's hard, yo, when them judges talking to you any kind of way and their life is in your hands, yo, but we got to take accountability to realize we the ones that put ourselves there. You know, she didn't put herself there. At the end of the day, she have a job to do. Just like the police, they have a job to do. If you want to be a criminal, you have a job to do. And your job is to not get caught. And once you get caught, you are at the mercy of the court. But let me know how y'all feel about this in the comments. It's another day at Keep It G News.
Nigga can't do what I do, y'all niggas can't copy me. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep the shit G. Let's keep shit G. Let's keep shit G.